All right, okay, so Shalom Aleichem, for those who don't know who I am, and for those who are all too familiar with who I am, my name is Shlomo Chaim Kesselman. I am the director of Machon Smicha. This presentation, I know that there's many people here who are in different stages. Some people are already in the Dayanus program. They're registered, they're accepted, they're all set up. Some are not, some are still interested, some are watching live, some will be watching later. So wherever you are, however you are, welcome. And I hope this presentation is going to be informative. We're not going to be doing any learning. And the goal of this is to just go over some information about the Dayanus program so that you can be equipped to then either be better informed whether you want to join, or when you do start to learn, you'll have more perspective. Obviously, it goes without saying that overwhelmingly the bulk of the people who come through Machon Smicha do a regular Smicha track. That's for Balabatim, Baruch Hashem. We have about 300 people currently learning Smicha. And however, and that's been already going for a few years. The Dayanus Choshen Mishpat track is obviously much smaller. It's only the second group we're doing. We started a group in Cheshvan. Now we're starting another group. And obviously the caliber of the individuals who are going to be doing this program is be'ein aroich, right? These are people, even though the goal of this course is not to create dayanim, and I should point out, if it hasn't been made clear before, that coming through this course does not mean an authorization or an endorsement to practice as a dayan. A 2-year dayanus course without any shimush when one learns Choshen Mishpat is kishmak, and it's kedai for everybody to know. But on the strength of that alone, one is not shayach to be a dayan or to function as a dayan in any capacity. Nevertheless, fact is, this is a step up, and the people who tend to join this course are Rabbonim, already shluchim, choshev balabatim, and therefore the standard of what is to be expected, and the people Baruch Hashem joining this course are people who are really representative of the a dugma chaya, a living example of what it means to be a rov, what it means to be somebody who's eingezapt with Torah, etc. So therefore, on that note, I want to give everybody a bracha just before we start, that this learning should be b'hatzlacha. You should give yourselves a lot of nachas. You should give your spouses, if you have a lot of nachas, your children, your parents, the Eibishter, a lot of nachas, and you should have hatzlacha in your learning. That's the ikar. All right. Okay. So we'll just go through some information that's relevant to the Smicha course. I don't want anybody to be in the recording. Some people don't like to be in the recording, so I'm only going to be able to see myself. So if you start being able to hear me or anything like that, just unmute. Somebody unmute themselves and let me know. All right, let's take it away. Okay, so what is Machon Smicha and over the Dayanus program, presented like by myself, as I said before. All right. And Rabbi Mendel Gorman, who is the Shoel Umeshiv for the Dayanus program, was not able to make it tonight, but you will be getting to know him and over the course of the next few days and weeks. Now I'll talk about him shortly. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to discuss this evening. We are going to talk about why it's important to learn Dayanus, to learn Choshen Mishpat. We're going to talk about what topics we cover throughout the program. We're going to talk about what Machon Smicha has to offer in terms of how we structure the program. We're going to talk about how the Shulchan Aruch that we send out works. And we're going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about what you need and how you should go about your learning. We're going to talk about tests. And that's the 7 things we're going to talk about. All right, let's jump right in. Okay, so let's just start off with a little bit of a Dvar Malchus. Why is it important to learn Choshen Mishpat? Why is it important to learn Dayanus? Again, even though we're not dealing with people who, at least at this stage of the game, mikoyach, the program that we're creating, are not becoming dayanim. But nevertheless, why is it kedai? So this is an excerpt from a sikha from the Lubavitch Rebbe in Tafshin Lamed Vov, Simchas Torah, which is 1975. And the Rebbe said as follows: "But the reign of the Yosim in our generation, which is an orphan generation in terms of Limud Torah, she'amatzav hu, that the situation is when one wants to ask a shiloh, one sometimes needs to go to a rov who's very far away, because it's not like a mall when everybody was very b'seich and yonim. And even when one finds, he has to make sure he's not coming at a time where he's taking a rest. And also he's not involved in a different mesechta. It's a halach in Shulchan Aruch that if a rov, it's brought down in the Gemara that if a rov is busy in one sugya, not allowed to ask about a different sugya. And all people, they knew all sugyas. There's actually an interesting tshuva from the Noida Behuda where this is not in the Sikha, just I came across it recently. There's a big suffix when it comes to Hilchas Nida. If there's a big shiloh when it comes to Hilchas Nida, that if Sveikas Benegei Hilchas Nida are considered a suffix of Tuma and Tara or a suffix of Isur V'Heter. Anyways, various nafkaminas. So there was a Rav who passed in a certain way, and the Noida Behuda wrote to him. He said, Mele, you don't know, a favorfen, tshuva somewhere, where some, Rav wrote something. He said, but Beferish a Tosfos, how did you miss a Tosfos? There's basically a Tosfos which addresses his exact question. Basically, the Noida had expected this Rav to be, fluent in every single Tosfos in the whole of Shas. Anyway, so that's the way it was Amol, but now it's not. V'lochin, therefore, Tovei Aleim brachos, a blessing should come upon those. That those who already, they got smicha, she has and they're looking to take their learning to the next level, to grow in Torah. The host is b'shita to continue in this direction. She kablo alatzim l'sayim alashana bagam yod and yodin. Right, to finish also learning for yod and yodin to learn choshen mishpat. And when they do that, later actually not only will the inyan for itself be added, in other words, not only will they now know choshen mishpat, right? Even the Yeri that all the other learning that will become transformed to a a whole different way, a whole different depth. Like it's known, the famous derech halimud of the Rogachover going. Right, that he had this unique ability to see how everything in Torah brought out one nekuda, and therefore, when you bring together so many different parts of Torah, every part really shines a light on the nekuda haklalis of Torah. Over therefore, the matter is correct. And therefore, halavai should be accepted. The suggestion. In Hechel it doesn't have to be said, where it came from. In other words, it doesn't make a difference who the inspiration came from. But that they should choose Avrechim and Bochim. It's those who, Yiras Hashem is they have it in abundance. In other words, people who, the Yiras Shamayim is impeccable. That they should learn in a way of Lasuk Shmai Talib the Hilchase. The Kiva and Shemir Shemaim, since the Shemaim and Egam Kshetal, the Moichem Svaramukha Bachulu, Bachol Yisukol Apol Kshvi Shekasam B'Shulchan Aruch. And even when, since they have Yer Shemaim, therefore, even when they're going to make their own chidushim, they are going to be mechaven la mitosa shel Torah. Anyway, so the point is that we see that the Rebbe was very encouraging of this idea that people should take, their learning to the next level in terms of learning Choshen Mishpat, and that really affects all of one's learning in general. So maybe I'm preaching a little bit to the choir over here, because these are people, everybody here, to some extent already has some interest in learning Choshen Mishpat, but nevertheless, it's nice to know that this is an encouraged thing. All right. Okay, let's talk a little bit more practical. Let's talk about what we're going to cover throughout the course of the Dayanus program. Okay, so the course is primarily broken up into 4 sections of halachos. We learn Hilchos Dayanim and Choshen Mishpat, Simanim Aleph through Chav Zayin. We learn Hilchos Eidus, which is Simanim Chav Ches through Lamed Ches, end of Lamed Zayin, sorry. Then we do Hilchos Toyin V'Nitan, Simanim Ayin Hey through Pei Beis. and Hilchas Harashah, which is Kuf Chav Aleph through Kuf Chav Hey. And it's possible that we will add shyness throughout the course of the program, either learning outside or learning other sugyas as they come up, maybe Ribas, even though Ribas is really in Yerodea, but it's still a Chosh Mishpat sugya. But nevertheless, something to be aware of. But it's definitely those four form the overwhelming, at least 95% of the program. Okay, let's talk about what Machon Smicha has to offer. Okay, so everybody in the program has an online portal. You have an account where you can access all the content, everything you need, the shiurim, the translation, summaries, quizzes, tests, etc. For those who did the Smicha program with us, they are all too familiar with how it works. You also offer a flexible schedule that you have not been sent yet, but you will. A schedule, in other words, when we're learning what, when the tests are. I say it's flexible because since the shiurim are not live, so therefore you can learn, you can make it work for you. We also will be sending you our translating Spanish Shulchan Aruch that you'll be able to access digitally, in addition to getting it mailed to you, a hard copy. Access to teachers, whether it's myself or Rabbi Gorman. Then it says review questions and quizzes over here, but it's mainly quizzes. We don't have Shalat Chazara for Hilchos Dayanim. At the end of every siman, there is a multiple choice quiz that you can take as many times as you want, to make sure you learn the stuff. And the last thing is a test, and then we have a group WhatsApp chat, and then a certificate of completion, assuming you pass all the tests. Okay, let's talk about how the translating Spanish Shulchan Aruch of Machon Smicha works. Here is just a sample page, and I know it's from Yerodea, but it's basically the same thing. Not basically, it is the same thing, except obviously the Noisei Kalim are different. So on the right, you'll see there's the Hebrew, the Tzuras Hadaf of the Shulchan Aruch, and on the left there is the study guide. The study guide is broken up into 4 sections. First one is the introduction to any relevant Mishnah, Gemara, Machmakis Rishonim, Turbes Yosef, Darkei Moshe, Prisha, Drisha, whatever's Nageya. Then we have the actual halachos translated, the Machaber Ramah. Then we have the discussion and explanation, which is primarily the Shach and the Sma, which are the 2 primary Noisei Kalim, Chosh and Mishpat, and obviously K'tzas and Sivus, Aruch HaShulchan, etc., where they are Nageh. It's not a translation, but it's an in-depth summary, so it'll definitely help you when you do learn it inside. And the 4th section is the quote sources and notes. Like I wrote a very extensive amount of makomis for the learning, along with additional explanations and rulings. So sometimes it just gets a bit overwhelming to put everything in the pnim, so we moved it to the footnotes, and other times we just left entire discussions to the footnotes because we didn't want to bog it down. Okay, it looks like there's something wrong with this slide. Okay, let's go back for a second. Okay, so how does the schedule work? So basically, this is a sample of the schedule. You'll see how it works. Basically, you'll get it via email within Be'ez Hashem before Shabbos, if not Sunday. Tells you exactly when we're learning what, when we're starting each siman, when it's Chazar, when it's Tessa. You can integrate the calendar, the schedule with Google Calendar. At least you'll get a link to do that. And you can also integrate it with other calendars like Apple Calendar, whatever. But we just have to fiddle with the settings of it. I have to remember how to do that. I know, in other words, the link that you'll get is to integrate with Google Calendar. Get it to work with Apple or any other calendar you use is doable. And I just have to remember how to do that, or ask somebody. Like I said, other calendars apps supported, and then you can receive notifications via email when we're learning what, and also you don't have to pull up, the PDF of the schedule every time. You can just check your calendar. Okay, what do you need to be able to, go through the program, and how should you go about learning? First thing you need is a device. You need a computer, a tablet, phone. I don't know if this is a general, I don't know if this is a bug or a feature, but from my experience over the past few months, a lot of people, again, I don't know if this is happening every time, because if it's working, then people won't tell me. But a lot of people will tell Rabbi Garevich, who's a Sholem Eshev for Smicha, that they can't access the test. And basically, it's because they're trying to take the tests on their phone. So I don't know if it's certain phones, and then some people are being able to take the test on their phone and are just not telling us about it because it worked, and we're only finding out when it doesn't work. But it's possible that you're not going to be able to take tests on your phone. But other than that, you should be able to do everything from a phone. I mean, if you're trying to access the digital versions of the study guide, it's going to be very small. But in terms of shiurim, no, you can definitely do that. Also, some people, I'll mention it now, some people, from within your account, you can access all the shiurim, but the shiurim are broken down by a siman. Some people don't want to, either very often don't have access to internet all the time, or they have a kosher phone, whatever it is, so they want to be able to download all the shiurim. So you can, and I will post, when I add everybody to the group WhatsApp chat, I will post a link to a Google Drive with all the shiurim, and every shiur has both an audio version and a video version. So if you like looking at me, you like the video version, then you can do that. But if you want just the audio version, you can do that as well. So the point is, what you'll see in your account is just the video version. But if you want also to get the dafka want the audio version, or you want to download the shiurim, then you can use the Google Drive link, which I will post in the group WhatsApp chat. I should probably just add it to the accounts also, in other words, to everybody's portal, to have a link to it. Okay, and then additional resources for places to look up. So there's a website called smicha.co.il, which is an unofficial, like a I don't even know what to call it, like a information dump for people who are preparing to take the Rabbanut Smicha tests or Dayanus tests. So there's just tons of resources there, like different people's shiurim, different people's summaries. If I remember correctly, there's actually I don't know who it is, but there's a great like for Hilchas Dayanim, there's a great set of summaries that have been uploaded there. You can check it out. It's all in Hebrew, obviously, but you can check it out. And then additional resources are Aruch HaShulchan. Aruch HaShulchan is a Geshmak Sefer. Again, we bring them down in the study guide all the time, but it's nice to read, just to go through, because it makes a seder out of everything. And also, you don't have to like mix, read all the different occasions. You just read Aruch HaShulchan with Geshmak. There's another sefer which is called Aloha Psuka, which is basically like a summarized version of all the shittas from the Rishonim to the Achronim for Choshen Mishpat. It's like, for those who are familiar with the sefer called Shiras Hayom, that's, I don't know who made it, I forgot his name offhand, but Shiras Hayom is a sefer that also somebody prepared for those who are taking tests with the Rabbanut. It's really geschmack. Like, it just goes through every sugi, every halacha, like, this is the relevant, these are the relevant shittas, this is the relevant discussion, opinion, halacha, tak. So it doesn't exist for Hilchas Dayanim or Hilchas Eidos. There's way less research for Choshen Mishpat in general. But this same Aloha Psuka is Geschmack. I don't know if you can find it in a store or anywhere like that, but I have a PDF of it. So if anybody wants it, or I had a PDF of it at some point and I can find it, just message me and I will send it to you. I'm pretty sure it's on Eitzir HaChochma. Okay, another thing is, okay, so let's talk about shiurim for a second. So I give the shiurim on the Shulchan Aruch, and I'll explain the shittas, explaining the sugyas, etc. And obviously get into the halacha l'maaseh where it's nageh. But we do also have a specific section on practical shiurim, in terms of every so often we'll bring in a rav or a dayan who will give a series of shiurim. So B'ezras Hashem, over the course of the next few weeks between now and the summer, we're going to be bringing somebody on. It's going to be Dayan Raskin, or maybe somebody else, maybe Shon Bershuchat, to give a series of shiurim on either stuff that are related to what we're learning. So let's say we're going to be learning Hilchas Dayanim, so they'll go through, the process of based and how it works, or there'll be other things, that are negea for somebody, in the position of a rav or a dayan, some supplementary areas of things to learn, just to color in what could be, just very, monotonous plodding through, Hilchos Dayanim, to just make it a little bit more exciting. Okay, let's talk about tests for a second. Okay, so there's 8 tests in total. They're generally written. There's definitely 7 written tests, 2 in Hilchos Dayanim, 2 on Hilchas Eidos, 2 on Toin V'Nitan, and 1 on Harshal. When I say written, I mean they're multiple choice and they're timed. Every test basically works exactly the same way. 30 questions, you have an hour and a half to complete it, and it's open book. Pretty straightforward. The reason why I wrote 8 tests in total is because there is probably going to be an oral test at some point with, or maybe more, with the Dayanim involved. I don't know when, I don't have details of that, but you'll definitely be made aware of that well in advance, and we'll have to accommodate those who, due to their time zones, are not, we used to do oral tests for everything, for smicha, everything, but it just became an absolute nightmare in trying to figure out the times of people in Australia getting up in the middle of the night and the West Coast. So, so it might not happen, but it's definitely something that I want it to be on everybody's radar, so that if you do get an email, you do get a notification saying there's going to be an oral test in 2 months on, whatever it is, the set of simonim, not to be completely shocked. Okay, the way the schedule works is that we give 1 week of Chazara before each test, and then there's a 1 week window to take each test. So, for example, the first test is on Hilchas Dayanim Simonim Aleph through the end of Yud Daled. So that takes about 2.5 months, I think, or maybe 3 months. And then once that's finished, there'll be a week window of Chazara, and then a week to take the test. But the test only takes an hour and a half. So you can take the test on the last day of that 1 week window, effectively giving yourself 2 weeks for Chazara, or you can take it on the first day and take a week vacation, or get started on the next set of simonim, whatever it is, doesn't make a difference. Okay, how do the accounts work? How does your account work? I'm not going to go through that now. If you don't know, if you can't figure it out, just send me a message, and I will send you a link to a YouTube video where it's just explained exactly how to access your account. In very short, when you paid, you set up you had set up for you a username and a password, and all the courses are, your courses are there. And you can just, with a little bit of fiddling around, assuming you have some computer knowledge, it should be fine. Okay,